beauty goes to the heart and subdues it. As she stood there before me in her dark worsted dress and coarse shawl, with her locks simply braided and her whole person undignified by art and ungraced by ornament, she seemed just by the power of her expression and the witchery of her manner, the loveliest woman I had ever beheld. "You are very kind, very good," I murmured, half ashamed of my disguise, though it was assumed for the purpose of rescuing her. "Your sympathy goes to my heart." Then, as a deep growl of impatience rose from the room at my side, I motioned her to go and not irritate the man who seemed to have such control over her. "In a minute," answered she. "First tell me what you are making." So I told her, and in the course of telling, let drop such other facts about my fancied life as I wished to have known to her, and through her to her father. She looked sweetly interested, and more than once turned upon me that dark eye, of which I had heard so much, full of tears that were as much for me, scamp that I was, as for her own secret trouble. But the growls becoming more and more impatient, she speedily turned to go, repeating, however, as she did so, "Now, remember what I say, you are not to be troubled if they do speak cross to you. They make noise enough themselves sometimes, as you will doubtless be assured of to-night." And the lips which seemed to have grown stiff and cold with her misery, actually softened into something like a smile. The nod which I gave her in return had the solemnity of a vow in it. My mind thus assured as to the correctness of my suspicions, and the way thus paved to the carrying out of my plans, I allowed some few days to elapse without further action on my part. My motive was to acquaint myself as fully as possible with the habits and ways of these two desperate men, before making the attempt to capture them upon which so many interests hung. For a while I felt it would be highly creditable to my sagacity, as well as valuable to my reputation as a detective, to restore these escaped convicts in any way possible into the hands of justice. My chief ambition, after all, was to so manage the affair as to save the wife of Mr. Blake, not only from the consequences of their despair, but from the publicity and scandal attendant upon the open arrest of two heavily armed men. Strategy, therefore, rather than force was to be employed, and strategy to be successful must be founded upon the most thorough knowledge of the matter with which one has to deal. 3 days, then, did I give to the acquiring of that knowledge, the result of which was the possession of the following facts. 1. That the landlady was right when she told me the girl was never left alone, one of the men, if not the father then the son, always remaining with her. 2. That while thus guarded she was not so restricted but that she had the liberty of walking in the hall, though never for any length of time. 3. That the cross on the door seemed to possess some secret meaning connected with their presence in the house, it having been erased one evening when the whole three went out on some matter or other, only to be chalked on again when, in an hour or so later, father and daughter returned alone. 4. That it was the father and not the son who made such purchases as were needed, while it was the son and not the father who carried on whatever operations they had on hand, nightfall being the favourite hour for the one and midnight for the other, though it not infrequently happened that the latter sauntered out for a short time also in the afternoon, probably for the drink he could not go long without. 5. That they were men of great strength but little alertness, the stray glimpses I had had of them revealing a breadth of back that was truly formidable, if it had not been joined to a heaviness of motion that proclaimed a certain stolidity of mind that was eminently in our favour. How best to use these facts in the building up of a matured plan of action, then, was the problem. By noon of a certain day I believed it to have been solved, and reluctant as I was to leave the spot of my espionage, even for the hour or two necessary to a visit to headquarters, I found myself compelled to do so. Packing up in a small basket I had for the purpose, the little articles I had been engaged during the last few days in making, I gave way to a final fit of coughing so hollow and sepulchral in its tone, that it awoke a curse from the next room, deep as the growl of a wild beast, and still continuing, finally brought Luttra to the door, with that look of compassion on her face that always called up a flush to my cheek, whether I wished it or no. "Ah, monsieur, I am afraid your cough is very bad to-day. Oh, I see, you have been getting ready to go out. Come back here," broke in a heavy voice from the room she had left. "What do you mean by running off to palaver with that old rascal every time he opens his battery of a cough?" A smile that went through me like the cut of a knife flashed for a moment on her face. "My father is in one of his impatient moods," said she. "You had better go. I hope you will be successful," she murmured, glancing wistfully at my basket. "What is that?" again came thundering on our ears. "Successful? What are you two up to?" And we heard the rough clatter of advancing steps. "Go," said she. "You are weak and old, and when you come back, try and not cough." And she gave me a gentle push towards the door. "When I come back," I began, but was forced to pause, the elder Schoenmaker having by this time reached the open doorway, where he stood frowning in upon us in a way that made my heart stand still for her. "What are you two talking about?" said he. "And what have you got in your basket there?" he continued with a stride forward that shook the floor. "Only some little toys that he has been making, and is now going out to sell," was her low answer, given with a quick, deprecatory gesture, such as I doubt if she ever used for herself. "Nothing more?" asked he in German, with a red glare in the eye he turned towards her. "Nothing more," replied she in the same tongue. "You may believe me." He gave a deep growl and turned away. "If there was," said he, "you know what would happen." And unheeding the wild, keen shudder that seized her at the word, making her insensible for the moment to all and everything about her, he laid one heavy hand upon her slight shoulder and led her from the room. I waited no longer than was necessary to carry my feeble and faltering steps appropriately down the stairs, to reach the floor below and gain the landlady's presence. "Do you go up," said I, "and sit on those stairs till I come back. If you hear the least cry of pain or sound of struggle from that young girl's room, do you call at once for help. I will have a policeman standing on the corner below." The good woman nodded and proceeded at once to take up her work basket. "Lucky there's a window up there so I can see," I heard her mutter. "I've no time to throw away, even on deeds of charity." Notwithstanding which precaution, I was in constant anxiety during my absence, an absence necessarily prolonged, as I had to stop and explain matters to the superintendent, as well as hunt up Mr. Gryce and get his consent to assist me in the matter of the impending arrest. I found the latter in his own home, and more than enthusiastic upon the subject. "Well," said he after I had informed him of the discoveries I had made, "the fates seem to prosper you in this. I have not received an inkling of light upon the matter since I parted from you at Mr. Blake's house. By the way, I saw that gentleman this morning, and I tell you we will find him a grateful man if this affair can be resolved satisfactorily." "That is good," said I. "Gratitude is what we want." Then, shortly, "Perhaps it is no more than our duty to let him know that his wife is safe and under my eye, though I would by no means advocate his knowing just how near him she is, till the moment comes when he is wanted, or we shall have a lover's impetuosity to deal with, as well as all the rest." Then, with a hurried remembrance of a possible contingency, went on to say, "But, by the way, in case we should need the cooperation of Mrs. Blake in what we have before us, you had better get a line written in French from Mrs. Daniels, expressive of her belief in Mr. Blake's present affection for his wife. The latter will not otherwise trust us, or understand that we are to be obeyed in whatever we may demand. Let it be unsigned and without names in case of accident, and if the housekeeper don't understand French, tell her to get some one to help her that does, only be sure that the handwriting employed is her own." Mr. Gryce seemed to perceive the wisdom of this precaution and promised to procure me such a note by a certain hour, after which I related to him the various other details of the capture such as I had planned it, meeting to my secret gratification an unqualified approval that went far towards alleviating that wound to my pride which I had received from him in the beginning of this affair. "Let all things proceed as you have determined, and we shall accomplish something that it will be a lifelong satisfaction to remember," said he, "but you must be prepared for some twist of the screw which you do not anticipate. I never knew anything to go off just as one prognosticates it must, except once," he added thoughtfully, "and then it was with a surprise attached to it that well nigh upset me, notwithstanding all my preparations." "You won a great success that day," remarked I. "I hope the fates will be as propitious to me to-morrow. Failure now would break my heart." "But you won't fail," exclaimed he. "I myself am resolved to see you through this matter with credit." And in this assurance I returned to my lodgings, where I found the landlady sitting where I had left her, darning her 23rd sock. "I have to mend for a dozen men and 3 boys," said she, "and the boys are the worst by a heap sight. Look at that, will you?" holding up a darn with a bit of stocking attached. "That hole was